in the Anguttara Nikaya. I think I share part of it with you. And today I thought to just emphasize again this topic because it's not much discussed. I look into the Abhidharma Kosa Bhashya and we have only very brief, mention. It basically in the form of enumerating the four in a place where they discuss, or where Vasubandhu discusses the different types of skandha, dhatu, and ayatanas, and this is cited as one type of ayatanas outside the one that have been usually discussed as 5 skandhas, 12 ayatanas, and 18 dhatus. And but when I look into other sources, I find that actually there's quite a bit of discussions that have not been brought into notice, especially in the so-called northern sources. Of course, firstly, this discourse is given in considerable details as I say, in the Anguttara Nikaya. But you can find this topic of the 5 Vimukty-āyatana also in other places like the Digha Nikaya and so on, and also in the Chinese Dirghaka Agama and in the Abhidharma text. So it's a topic that is in the early Pali Suttas, in the Chinese Agamas, in the Abhidharma text, and also in the Yogacara also. So it must have been an important topic, and it deserves much more than just like a casual mentioned by Vasubandhu in his beautiful text called the Abhidharma Kosa Bhashya. Let's revise very quickly what we saw in the case of the Pali Sutta. And the Buddha says that there are these 5 ayatana for vimukti. And we interpreted ayatana here to mean 5 bases, 5 support base. Just roughly, these 5 are: 1, in the first case, the teacher. Particularly in that case, it means the Buddha himself, either the teacher himself or some wise one who is respected as capable of teaching, like the teacher. So a Dhamma desana, a teaching is given of the Dhamma is given to a bhikkhu or bhikshuni, and the bhikkhu and bhikshuni listens very carefully and respectfully, and of course with faith, as we have understood all these qualities, and he or she comes to be patisangvedi bhavati. The term occurs. It's a very interesting term, and I pointed out, I think on that occasion, that my understanding, and to me, that term means direct experiential insight. It's a kind of understanding, it's an insight. I think that is the stress here. And what I mean is that patisangvit, this term need not be taken as a technical term in the form of the 4-fold patisangvit. We have Pali patisambhitta. It's from the same context. However, of course, you still have the terms artha in the Sanskrit and Pali also. Artha, patisangvedi, and then Dhamma patisangvedi. That also seem to clearly remind us of the context of the four Parisambhita. But I think even these two terms, Atta and Dhamma Parisangvedi, need not be taken as very technical terms. The important point, that is to say, is that Prati Sangvedi, I'm quoting the Sanskrit text, the same term as Patisangvedi in Sanskrit, signifies an understanding. Hence I call it an insight, understand, because more than just intellectual understanding, more than just kind of a superficial understanding of the book or from the words. You listen to a Dhamma sharing or a book or a lecture and you say, oh yeah, I've understood it, but it doesn't go deep into your heart. And it doesn't become an insight in you in a spiritual sense. But this kind of understanding that's derived from listening to the Dhamma is powerfully inspiring, and it transforms you. It should transform you. That's what I'm trying to illustrate and demonstrate in my lectures on the suttas, Pali Sutta and Sanskrit texts and so on. Certainly for me it is inspiring. So in that context I observed that Bhikkhu Bodhi speaks of gaining inspiration in. So he might be right to emphasize that. But of course, again, the Pratisangvedi here to me signifies a kind of very deep understanding. And the understanding is prati and sam. Sam means proper, perfect even, or full. Vit is the root for experiencing, understanding, feeling. And prati means towards, going against, you see. And is sometimes suggests something direct, something personal, not via a medium, but you personally know something. Like Pachattang Veditapang, Pratyatman. And which in that kind of context means something that's known internally and personally by you. It's this kind of understanding of the Dhamma that you gain when you truly and properly listen to the Dhamma. This is very important. That brings us to that point of what I have called in the past, but I often call the art of listening to the Dhamma. It's very, very important. We can't listen to it casually. And we can't listen to it like in a classroom, There's a place for classroom understanding, discussion, argument, that's certainly. But if we want to take your Buddhist studies as a practice or integrate your Buddhist practice into it, and you must cultivate the proper attitude. That's a very big art. It's more easy said than done. But then we have to have mindfulness, awareness of this. I find that in a busy and industrial, commercial society, it's very difficult to make this point understood. People, because of their modernization or westernization, they are used to that kind of schooling attitude. You see, so you can't expect spiritual benefit if you listen like that. So there must be a proper art. This includes, in the suttas, I have discussed in other contexts, some other conditions for one to be spiritually inspired and benefited by the Buddha's teaching and to be transformed. And these include things like, you can look at my earlier sharing, and also you can look into, for instance, the Anguttara Nikaya, where there are suttas which describe this, what you might call requisite qualities or conditions, of a pupil. So humbly become aware that we have to learn a lot, and to admit our own negativity, our insufficiency as pupil of the Dhamma. As a Buddhist, to make it short, in the true sense. First thing is awareness. Although I say it's more easily said than done, but whatever it is, the first thing, we must be aware of it, and we must be honest. Always our practice, our struggle involves honesty. Without honesty and sincerity, you can keep talking and arguing about it, you can write a PhD thesis about it, but it may not touch your heart. So, when you look into this sutta, you find that, for instance, it says, after choosing a teacher, you see, one must go near the teacher, one must approach the teacher. And in fact, traditionally, one must stay under the teacher. One must enter into relationship with the teacher, you see, so as to be fully tuned in mentally, to be receptive, to be always ready to learn. And the person must, the pupil must take initiative also to ask questions, not because he wants to prepare for the exam or anything like that, he wants to pass a degree, but he wants to know. And that represents what you might call, for want of a better term, metaphysical motivation, inverted commas, which is an important factor. Or meta-motivation, to use Maslow's term, you see. We must be meta-motivated for us to be benefited and inspired by the Dhamma, to be transformed by the Dhamma, which is the true function of the Dhamma. It's not to make you a good member of an established religion or organization, or to gain a label and be proud, I'm a Buddhist, or, No, not that, but the Dhamma is meant to transform you, transform us, and uplift us to higher spiritual levels, and induce our inner potentials to be raised more and more and more until human potentiality is raised to the highest. That is when we become a Buddha. So you must be aware that if I want to listen properly, what is meant by that? One thing, as I said already, you must actually make the move. You must go near the teacher. You must establish a relationship with the teacher. That's very important. And then you must, as I said, in fact, the tradition says that you should attend on the teacher, because by attending on it, you are cultivating sati, mindfulness, of what it means to have a spiritual relationship. You are happy that I have a chance to serve my teacher, to learn from my teacher. He deserves my respect, or my gratitude, or my kindness, or whatever. He has more wisdom than I. So, although in the modern context, of what the teacher may not be perfect, but he has some good qualities that inspires you. So, this is what he meant by getting into a spiritual relationship with the teacher. It's very, very important. And you attend on him. Attending on him, you ask questions, as I said. The asking question represents, as I said, the cultivation of conscious effort in cultivating your metaphysical or meta motivation. You must feel, I want to come to higher levels. I know, I'm aware that there are higher levels, higher possibilities, and I can benefit that way from this teacher. So you go to ask questions. As I said, not because you want to clarify things only in an intellectual sense. Of course, that's part of it. But you hope that always there's something about the Dhamma that the teacher can reveal to you. What is not revealed is revealed. What is not clear is made clear. Those terms often occur in those contexts. And then when the teacher begins to teach, you must place your ear. The ear must be placed. You must tune into it. That's the best way I can think of in English. Mentally. That's why in our meditation, and even before our Dhamma sharing, we encourage chanting, and in the context of worshiping the Buddha, in front of the Buddha statue, already has a meaning. It's not just for ritual. As I said last week, you can't just jump into a session like this and after finishing what you believe to be important works, so many work to do, and then just simply, without any sense of deep desire to learn, you simply just join the class. You cannot do like that. So the sutta speaks of placing your ear in this sense. You tune to it, and then you are inspired, and then you go on to practice. You see, the mental attitude of tuning is very, very important. It's a difficult thing to do. That itself is meditation. Then when you feel inspired, you want to struggle on, and you strive, you put your mental effort, you commit to it, and so on, and finally you become liberated. So this kind of training, this kind of process is very well described in the Pali Suttas and in the Agama text. And much more so, in fact, even more so, in fact, in the Yogacara text, because it's concerned about practice, yoga, spiritual practice. So this sutta begins with the first ayatana. The first basis is learning. That is not simply learning and studying in the modern sense, but learning as a candidate of spiritual transformation, as if you like, a pupil. And I forgot to tell you that, in fact, in those suttas, in some other sutta, it says that, and in the teacher that you're going to learn from, you must establish in yourself a sense of affection, pema must be there, and you must have a sense of gratitude, and even a sense of moral modesty and moral shame. So these are not values that are emphasized in ordinary education system, but all these are part and parcel of what I mean by learning the Dhamma, listening to the Dhamma. So it's a very big thing. I think one of you can write a book on how to listen to the Dhamma, listen to the art of listening to Dhamma. I think it's a beautiful topic. So this first ayatana, the first basis for liberation. The important thing is liberation, right? The word. That spells out the spirituality of the Dhamma. The purpose of the Dhamma, as I said, ultimately is for liberation. Not to be a good Buddhist in the sense of being obedient and clever and successful, efficient contributor to a temple organization or a group. So in this first, regarding this first ayatana, it's a case of listening then. Listening spiritually, creatively, to the teaching of Buddha. So you must understand what I mean, I hope, by listening to the Dhamma. It can be a teacher. He says, look at the Chinese today. I give you some Chinese, because I find the Chinese also in the Sangiti Pariyaya, Ji Yi Men Zhu Lun, and is in details and much more detailed than in the Pali text, and it adds to the Pali text. That's why I'm sharing to you with you. So either a teacher, even in the Pali text it says like that, either the satta, the teacher, or someone who is, you might say, in the position of a teacher, or the Chinese say who is respectable, You see, the sense guru, gurusthaniya. Guru can mean a spiritual teacher. It also means respect, who is respected. That is to say, respected as if he is the teacher, at least in this on this occasion, who is wise and who is a fellow spiritual practitioner. So you listen in this way to him. And then it goes like that. I read the Chinese to you first, then you can understand better. 如是如是，于彼法要能证了知，若法若义。I had to stop like that. I have re-punctuated. The punctuation in the Taisho is not so good. I have made my own punctuation. And first is 如是如是 and 如如 correspond to the Pali and Sanskrit yatha yatha tatha tatha. So you have to learn in the manner in which, or in the manner that, like this, in that very manner, in that very same manner. Okay, so that means the listener or the learner have got the spiritual message, you see, completely from the teacher. That's very important. It's not just any listening, like any casual listening. With all the proper mental attitude and so on, preparation, it takes a lot of preparation. Like you do meditation, you do a puja. To be benefited by a puja, also you can't jump into it. That's why I don't like the idea someone suddenly stand up and rush to get something done and then rush back. And that's not good. And of course, you can't help it, so you have to do a middle way. Sometimes you have to help to get things prepared, But do it more mindfully, at least as a middle way, and very quietly, without disturbing yourself and others. Get that thing done if you need to have something done, but try to avoid doing it at that moment. But why can't you do it earlier, Maybe come 10 minutes earlier, 15 minutes. And this is how they do it in Sri Lanka, to do a puja. They come at least more than 1 hour beforehand, group of them. They sort out the flowers and the lights and all these things, and everything is okay. Then they wait for the teacher to come and before the puja. So you get the atmosphere. You don't do like in a modern Western situation. You rush to get something done that's more important, and then you come back. But by the time you come back, your mind is disturbed, and that action also disturbs others. So it's important to be aware of all this. This is part and parcel of what I have just said about the art of listening or learning the Dhamma properly. So in that proper manner you have learned it, and then in that manner the students acquires, you see, artha pratisangvedi bhavati and Dhamma pratisangvedi bhavati. These two terms, right? I have explained to you, I have translated to you already. It means that he gains personal and direct or proper, also proper, prati and sang, insight. On my earlier occasion, I translated this word to mean he gains experiential insight. The stress is insight, and the other one is something experiential, because it's something that has gone into you, into your heart, your bones, and directly and properly. It's not just that you have acquired more knowledge, like you enter some data into your computer and you have a better, database. You have the whole CD of C-beta, Tipitaka CD. You can search anything, but those are not spiritual knowledge. They're just data, Anyway, and they are not even scholarship in the modern sense. Scholarship doesn't consist of the ability to amass as much information as possible. That's only a very initial part of it. It's your ability to sort out, you see, the essence, the meaning, the significance of what you have gathered, the ability to understand the value and to put things together. You see, this is scholarship, not just knowing all the languages and amassing data only. Anyway, so in that very manner, he gains direct and spiritual, direct and proper insight. And I find the Chinese also very interesting. You see, of course, Xuan Zhang has translated those terms like Parisangvid, the four Parisangvid, and so on. You have one the Dharma Parisangvid, and Atta Parisangvid, and Niruta Parisangvid, and so on. Is it the three, and then the last one is about eloquence. So the Chinese here translate like this: 正了知，若法若义，经了知，若法若义。That means, with regard to the Dhamma or the meaning, understands or discern properly. The stress of proper understanding is a kind of understanding, but it's a spiritual one. Then, as a result of that, now you can read your Chinese yourself. Then there arises pramodya, joy and delight. So look at this process. It's an inspiring process. That's why I said this metaphysical or meta-motivation uplifts you. You go to higher and higher levels, and each level is more and more joyful. It should be like this. At least at that time, at the time when you are being benefited, when you are being inspired. So first is pramodya, or joyousness or delight arises. And because of the rising of delight, there comes to be priti. It's a term signifying very powerful, strong momentum, strong emotion of joy. So sometimes it's translated like as rapture and so on. So because of pramodya, priti arises. Because of the arising of priti, this conjunction also not quite right. It should be xin gu sheng, xi xin. Should stop here. I have corrected later, but not here. So the person's mind becomes rapturous, if you like, and then because of this rupture, now the body becomes prasapta, qing an, hang on, becomes here in this context you can say becomes serene or tranquil. And this is another higher level. You come to have very powerful momentum or powerful feeling of rupture, and then you come down, and then your body becomes, your mind affects your body. Keep on learning these things, repeating them, and you understand the Dhamma more. Don't read them too roughly and quickly. So, because there are things that we can experience, we can feel, in a very simple way. Although not perfectly, of course. Because of this priti in the mind, mentally, the body also becomes calmed down, becomes serene. The serenity is very, very important. See, this serenity then is a state of joy, but a state of joy that has been calmed down. Higher state of joy is still higher. And then, as a result of that, then one experiences happiness, sukha. So happiness is a very high state of, if you like, bliss. It goes higher and higher, and it's a kind of now a calm down bliss, and Because of this experiencing of sukha, now is very important thing, then you come to be mentally equipoised. This is my translation for samahita, or equipoised samadhi. You gain samadhi. Look at this samadhi. It's not just concentrating on mind. Of course, in this state, your mind is concentrated, but the more important thing is that your mind becomes fully evenly integrated. The word is integration, unification. That is samadhi. And that, see, that only occurs on the basis of a very profound state of happiness. See how possible Buddhism is. Happiness, sukha. And that happiness is on the basis of your the tranquility of your body, and then your mind, and so on. You see, so you come to that very high state of calm down, profound, and you might say, in a sense, subtle happiness. Then only your mind, all the energy can be fully integrated. Until then, all our energies are fragmented, disintegrated. That's why an ordinary human being has so-called mental problems, and there's so much of what is now emphasized as depression and so on, because our mind is not integrated. The more sincere you are, you see, the harder that hit can become. Because you become, when you meditate, when you progress, when you are sincerely struggling, you become more sensitive, more mindful. That's why this is what I describe as one of the dangers of teaching and emphasizing Buddhist meditation out of context. That is to say, we emphasize as just mere technique, completely abstracted, isolated from the totality of the context of the spiritual life, totality of the context of the Dharma, then you're going to have problems. And you don't know how to handle these problems. You become disorientated. So because of our honestly, because we are all disintegrated until we are fully enlightened, we have conflicts all the time. It's quite normal. But you become more sensitive and aware of them when you meditate, when you progress spiritually. Even in this context, you see, when you're progressing step by step, sequentially. So that's why we are having problems. But you see, this is part of what I mean by a totalistic context. When you have the context, you go over it, you sail through it. Like rough water, you come to even higher state. And all this, this state of samadhi, this state of equipoise, you see, is presupposed upon other conditions just now. Listening to the Dhamma, learning the Dhamma, getting inspired, and gaining direct and proper insight, personal insight into not just the words, not that the Dharma itself, but the signification, the true meaning, and then you come to the state of joy, rapture, and so on and so on. So, premise on these preparations, you come to finally only the stage of unification or integration of all your psychic energies. That is samadhi. And that is, by the way, the significance of samadhi in the Noble Eightfold Path. I have often told you that samadhi in the context of Noble Eightfold must not be interpreted or translated as right concentration, which is one of the worst translations you can get in English. Unfortunately, it's a very popular one. First of all, it's not a question of right as opposed to wrong, but it's proper. But I have explained what it means by that. I don't want to spend time on that. And then the word samadhi is not concentration there, although it certainly implies concentration But concentration plus something was a lot more important thing. That is your full integration, unification. Otherwise, people would think, I start by samadhi, samaha, sankappa, and so on, only to end up with just right concentration. Is that a combination of what the Buddha explains as the path to enlightenment, the Noble Path? Certainly it has got to be much more than that, much more profound than that. Anyway, so coming back to this, you come to then a state of perfect, complete, full integration and unification of all your energy. Your fragmented being becomes unified. That's a very important step. In a way, you can say that the whole process of spiritual progress in Buddhism is a process of integration. This is also what is emphasized generally in modern Buddhist, modern psychology. But of course, what they understand as integration is, I think, not exactly the same as what we mean by integration. So because of this perfect integration, then only wisdom can shine forth. Then only you have what is called Yatha Buddha, Jnana Darsana. Jnana Darshana. So it says something gu yu sat ji kin. Here. As a result of one's mind being fully integrated, I say the whole being, of course, basically the whole thing finally comes out to your heart, your mind, rather, your consciousness. Being fully integrated, then only that person, that bhikshu, can understand and see things through as they are. And as a result of being able to understand and see things through as they are, only there arises nirvana. It's very interesting and important terms. And I think some of the English renderings are perhaps not so appropriate. I still like the word disgust, you see. Nirvana is like turning away, you see. But disgust in a spiritual sense, your mental preparedness to let go. I think that may be a more modern word. To put down, you see, and you don't become, you don't cling to things anymore. But that is as a result of the insight. You see through things through as they are, and you know that things are not worth clinging to. They are not permanent. Not only that, the clinging result in our suffering and so on. You see, so that kind of thing, that kind of letting go or preparedness to let go, must be based on insight. You can't just force yourself and intellectually convince yourself, everything is impermanent and unsatisfactory. We should not be attached to. We read these things, almost every day, but we are the same person. That's because that's because Dharma has not gone into us. There's no true insight. So this Yatha Buddha Jnana Darshana. Jnana Darshana is spiritual insight. You must be able to gain that. Then only you can let go in the true sense. Of course, you learn to let go, even in the absence of that kind of perfect insight. That's a process of learning. But this is not just learning. This is really what is happening to that person. What's happening in that sequential, uplifting process of transformation. So that bhikshu now feels disgusted, not in the sense of being negatively, emotionally disgusted and frustrated, but in the sense of feeling inspired that, there is nothing worth clinging to, in a very positive way, you can say. And as a result of that, then the person becomes truly detached. Only then that you gain detachment. I have seen people writing, on Buddhism in English. They talk so much about detachment and mindfulness in the present, and as if it's all happening every time in their life, which is not true. Any honest person will know that this is not the case. You see, so here, according to the description, you come to is a final stage. It's all begin from what? Don't forget, learning from the Buddha receptively, with a proper attitude. Learning the Dhamma first. Let the Dhamma come into you, transform you creatively. Then you finally come to this state when you really become detached. That's true detachment. Not forcing yourself to let go, because in the earlier stage you have the preparedness to let go. Now it's a true letting go, true detachment. And then is only then one attains liberation. Vimukti. So this is the final goal. That is why it's called Vimukty-āyatana. So this is the first one. And then it goes on to say, see, the wording is almost the same as the Pali, but it adds more to it and tells us more. From my description just now, you can understand already. But then it continues. It says, this is the first Vimukty-āyatana, and those bhikshu and bhikshunis, who have done like that, who have progressed up to this, abiding in this ayatana, you see, and his or her mindfulness, very important thing, that has not yet been accomplished, now comes to be accomplished, or has not been abiding, now abides. More grammatically, Nim mei ju je lang ju jing nim. See the stress? You must have mindfulness. Talking about mindfulness, you see, it's not so easily gained. Like these modern exponents of mindfulness practice, no, it's not easily gained. It involves the whole practice of spiritual life. You can't just expect mindfulness just by doing a whole series of exercises. They may be helpful to some extent, and also, as I said, they can also be harmful if it's out of context. But in any case, you can't expect from that series of exercises, even though you do daily, to lead you to liberation, and to lead you to the state when you can say, I abide, in the ever in the presence, in mindfulness. People try to say like that. Tong lim, tong ha jing lim. 講得咁好聽啫，幾多人咁做得到呢？ So we can't fool ourselves. We can't kid with ourselves. You can see now it involves the whole thing. You commit yourself to the Dharma. You have a teacher. You listen to the Dharma. You allow yourself to transform. You allow yourself to do this receptively, and through faith and so on. You see, creatively. Then only you come to this. So, at this stage, the mindfulness that has not been accomplished comes to be accomplished. Very important, you need to have mindfulness. It's actually mindfulness transform. But this mindfulness, important as it is, cannot simply, it doesn't occupy the first step of the whole sequence. You can see that. It's come to a very final end. And one whose mind, or one who's equipoised, has not been achieved, comes to achieve now so-called proper samadhi. You see? So, proper mindfulness, proper samadhi certainly are very important. And that reminds us of the whole path of Noble Four Path also. You can link this up. I am, don't forget, reading you the Chinese material. But they are actually confirming the teaching in the Pali text also. So, one who has not gained, whose mind is not equipoised, now abides in proper equipoise, proper samadhi. Then, finally, only then you have. So coming to this, you have proper mindfulness, proper equipoise, proper samadhi. and then your asravas come to be fully destroyed. 就係漏啦，漏未盡者能盡諸漏，咁樣就能夠盡諸漏啊。And this is described as the attainment of nirvana. The nirvana, i.e., the supreme spiritual security. The type of security we seek, normally in the world, is not the proper one. True spiritual security in the higher sense is nirvana. So you gain that when you come to the higher state. You see, it's a stage that leads, it's a sequence that leads you from one state to a higher, to a higher, to a higher, to a higher state, which is, you can say by implication, of progressive happiness. This is the Buddhist path. And this is how it works regarding to this ayatana of Vimukti, the first ayatana of Vimukti. So the Chinese description makes clear many things, and this is quite an ancient text. This is one of the earliest Abhidharma texts. Then I don't want to give you details in the other four now. It's similar. So this is the first case, listening to the teaching, properly, creatively, receptively listening to the teaching by a teacher. Secondly is the case of someone who is not so much listening to the teaching, but reciting the sutras aloud. And it's very interesting, the Chinese has 大声, 大声嘅念. So clearly it means reciting. Now that you can see how the Chinese tradition, Buddhist tradition of reciting sutra, you see, comes to be, how should I say, validated, substantiated, you see, from Buddhism, because this kind of teaching is in the Pali text, and in the Agama text, in the Abhidharma text, one of the earliest Abhidharma texts that we are now reading. So reciting is a very important practice. Again, it's not just reciting mechanically. Firstly, the recitation must have a context, just like your meditation, like your listening to Dhamma. It's not just going to a class and wanting to pass a MA or PhD or whatever, you see, learning as a modern, in the modern classroom, not like that. Your whole mental attitude is very, very important. So now also, reciting also is like that. So that this gives us an encouragement, you see, a backing for our practice of recitation. Why we recite sutta? Why the monks recite sutta all the times? Oh, you might say that they can think of many reasons. One is to preserve the Dharma, and there is no written text, and then you have to transmit orally, and recitation is a practice. But it is much more than that. When we read things like this, we can understand that the recitation is also spiritually inducive, spiritually conducive. So it leads you to higher and higher states. It can be a very profound spiritual experience. So this is actually yet another Vimukty-āyatana, another ayatana for liberation, another basis for liberation. That is reciting aloud. So it's very clear. How, of course, reciting in accordance, in the manner that the profound Dharma, the perfect Dharma has been learned, has been heard, and so on. And as he does that, so again, yata yata, tata tata, ru ru, ru shi ru shi, that person now comes to be artha pratisangvedi and dharma pratisangvedi. Comes again, as I said, personal direct insight into the Dharma and the Dharma, that he, first thing is the premise that he doesn't just recite it, he recites what he has heard, what he has learned, and what he has learned receptively, creatively. Then you do your recitation. So it's not just a mechanical one, it's not something that's out of context, you see, not as a ritual. And in this process, he gains direct, proper insight into the Dhamma by reciting. That's a wonderful tradition. And I noticed that in the Indian tradition, people, from childhood, they when they study, even in the ordinary situation, they recite and they memorize many times. People think, oh, this is not the clever way to do it, but actually, it proves to be very effective. You learn like this. So in a Buddhist country, you see these samaritans and the novices and devotees. They do recitation like this. So this second one. So the whole process is repeated. We don't want to repeat. From this, joy arises. With this insight, joy arises in you. Don't forget, remind yourself, this joy arises only if you gain direct and proper insight. And that only occurs if you listen carefully. Listen, not just carefully, in the modern sense, listen receptively, spiritually, if you like, creatively. Right, then you come to the whole sequence of higher and higher joy. So I describe this as a process of a spiritual pull from samsara. I call this a centrifugal force. It pulls you further and further away from the center of samsara. Okay? So this is the second one. And finally, the person can attain nibbana. That's why it's liberation, ayatana. Then the number 3 is also extremely interesting, important, and here it says that now the person, the bhikshu, is not listening to the Dhamma in the manner that had been described earlier, nor is he reciting himself, not that. But what does he do? You see, in accordance with the manner that he had learned receptively, that he had gained insight, you see, in the Dharma, from learning and so on. This is a premise, a prerequisite. Now he teaches others, he explains to others. So I have said, teaching the Dhamma to others also is one very important way of creative education. And you find proof of this even in the northern tradition. It's all in their text, in very clear words, you see. So again, the yata tata tata, in the manner that he preached to others in detail as he has heard, as he has penetrated, as he has understood, and so on, you see. As he gained insight into, I should say. So this is the third one. And then the fourth one is, you see, not doing the first 3 cases, but the bhikshu now get into solitude and he reflects, he contemplates on what he has learned, we have heard, you see, deeply and carefully. He investigates into, he contemplates on the Dharma that he has learned, creatively learned. Then also this becomes a means for him to gain direct and personal insight, proper insight, as a result of which he becomes happier and happier and happier. And his energy becomes more and more released. That's why when we do Dharma work, we are very busy, we are very tired, and we feel like we are spending a lot of time for a center or for a project or for others. It's not like that. It's actually we are ourselves, you see, if we are mindful and honest and sincere, we are being transformed. So it's ultimately we are the people, we are the persons to gain the spiritual benefit. So here in this case, coming back to this case, not in all this, but he gets into solitude, you see, and contemplative. He is reflecting, thinking. You see, look at this. Buddhism gives a place to contemplation and reflection, but not in a intellectually distracted way, not in the way of what is stressed in modern education. But your contemplation, your reflection, investigation are premised upon your creative, receptive learning first, right? And even in some cases there's recitation as well, recitation practice as well. But here the point stress is on your own contemplation and reflections. It doesn't deny your intellectual capacity, your rational thinking. It's all integrated. Buddhist studies and Buddhist practice are one. You can see here the emphasis here. So that also can liberate you if you do it properly, mindfully. So you have to come to proper mindfulness, proper samadhi. Huh? So finally, in the same manner, you come to gain nirvana. The fifth one is a case not of listening to the Dhamma from a teacher, not of reciting yourself, not of teaching others, and not of contemplation of the Dhamma that has been learned, in solitude, but of meditation, meditative practice. That's also very important. But there are different types of, character types, and some are interested in meditation more, and they don't want too much of study. But then you see, it is not divorced from studies. You see, still it says, in accordance with the way that the Dhamma has been heard, you see, and so on, you see. So the same premises apply, right? So with those premises, on the basis of those premises, then you come to meditation. So it's the integration of your understanding of Dhamma, right, into your meditative practice. Very important. And you also can gain insight, direct insight, proper insight. Yeah. So now there is a description here. I just go through it a little bit quickly. Lang sin choi yat ting seong. Now Pali there is not so clear, but here now we see clearer description in the Sanskrit text and the Chinese text. The Sanskrit text is given fully, even in more details, in the Vyakya. I didn't in the hurry. I didn't project it, but I've got it in the file also. You can read it yourself. In the Vyakya, I think something like page 53, 54, around that. So it's a case of meditation. You grasp samadhi nimitta. What is meant by that? Is it? And a very interesting word in the Sanskrit is batrakang. Samadhi nimittang. First of all, the nimitta is the sign that you grasp. That's a meditation sign. What is it? Why is it called batraka? Then there's no explanation on those things, and the Pali doesn't even have a prataka also. And in this text, in the Sangiti Pariyaya, yes, there is explanation of it's somewhat explained, but then and we find from the Pu Guang and Fa Bao, the two among the chief disciples of Xuan Zhang who participated in the translation of Abhidhamma text and Yogacara text. This is the process through which he trains the next generations, the younger generations, the process through which he served as a Buddhist teacher. So they give details. They give more explanations on this for Vimukty-āyatanas. But it is in the Vyakya that you find more details, explanations. And talking about this so-called the word Bhadrakam. Bhadra means something auspicious, something good, something fine, you know, like a yin. Yin and yin. So why good? Why a good nimitta? What's meant by that? It's really a little bit mysterious. But then I find that actually in the Yogacara Bhumi, there is explanation for that. The explanation is that a nimitta, that is to say a meditation sign we're talking about, this is talking about meditation practice, is said to be Bhadraka, said to be a good one, a spiritually conducive one, you like, spiritually good one, if it counteracts our negativities. So it says, I have, I think, a little bit of this in a hurry. I have quoted some. Here you can see that one ho yin sin ga ting seong. Yin sin is a translation for Bhadraka. What is it? I explain. Yogacara Bhumi is all, this is in the basic section, is a very early part of Yogacara Bhumi. It says it refers to the sign of a corpse turning dark green, dark blue, actually, correctly speaking, nilaka, or the sign of a corpse decomposing and so on. These are the signs that meditator takes, you know, when he say meditates on the asubha, the pachinguna. The person goes to the cemetery and then he meditates on the process of decomposition of the corpse. Then he has that, he maintains that sign in his mind in meditation. So it becomes a sign, and eventually the sign is so vivid that it's as if it is a reality. I say as if because it's not actually the reality, but that he's seeing very directly. This is when spiritual knowledge can become transforming. It has got to be, you know, something deeply inside you, not just conceptually interesting or exciting. As if you are seeing a corpse everywhere, everybody decomposing. You come to that, then you really feel what is there to be attached to cling to, and then you let go. See? So the Yogacara Bhumi here says that is this kind of sign, like for instance, the sign of a corpse turning blue dark. And then they explain why it's called good, spiritually good. It says because the most important, the most damaging, if you like, clashes, defilements, is greed, is hatred. We have to face it. And of this, the most difficult to get over is sensual craving. It's all true in human experience, and we can't run away from this. But this meditation, this kind of sign, counteracts kama raga. Therefore, it's said to be patrika. So there's an explanation like this, and the samadhi nimitta here refers to this kind of meditative sign. There are others also, and I find this description in the Vyakya, in Sanskrit, not in the Pali. The Pali simply say, a well-grasped meditation sign. But the Sanskrit tradition tells us, gives us actual examples of the meditation sign. And then Yogacara Bhumi even explains further why it's so important, because it counteracts your negativity in this meditation. This is what they're talking about, this kind of meditative sign, you see? And by the way, that also reminds us of the importance of Adimukti that I keep emphasizing, you see? The place it occupies in the process of liberation. Even the role it plays in the development of Yogacara thought of Vijapti Matrata. Okay, so we see this very concrete description. So let me then now quickly, I have translated, I don't have time, I just only one part of translate. This is from the Sanskrit, from Vyakya that I refer to, and this is about actually it's the third one in the Sanskrit system, but in the Pali system is number 2. I think if I'm not, let me see. 1, 2, yes, 3. So in the Sanskrit, in the northern tradition is number 3. In the Pali is number 2. The order is reversed. But the basic emphasis and description are the same. It's very interesting. So it's a common tradition. It must have been a very ancient tradition. Right. So it's about, remember that is about teaching the Dhamma as you have heard to others. And as you teach with sincerity, if you already have gained insight into the meaning earlier and you have reflected on, you keep on doing that. Your insight may be imperfect, but it will progressively help you. Even as you serve as a teacher, if you explain to others. So explain to others. That will mean that teaching the Dhamma to others, Dharma Dana, Farsi, doesn't have significance in just simply spreading the religion. Being a missionary in the Christian sense or the modern sense. No, actually, it is. We learn today that it is one of the important practices for liberation, nothing less than liberation. Okay? It's one of them. So I have given here a very literal translation, and if you look into the Sanskrit, you can see that. So it says, furthermore, in this case, I put in this case because case number 3 here, the teacher does not teach a dharma to the bhikshu, nor does a certain wise one in the position of a teacher or a respected one, a respected fellow practitioner, nor does he recite in detail. This is number 2, right? He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. These are not the 2 cases. Not to say he has not done that necessary, but the basis, the practice that is emphasized here are not those 2, but the third one now. But he expounds in details to others the dharmas as they have been heard, as they have been pointed out, as they have been mastered. This is important. You don't simply distort, mislead others, right? You don't simply show off your knowledge through your teaching, but this is a description of a very, very sincere practice now. Don't forget that. You teach them, knowing that it will benefit others, but it also will benefit you, and it's going to transform you. You will do it very creatively, sincerely. So you might say that in creative Buddhist education, both the teacher and the pupil contributes, and it can be a mutually inspiring and beneficial process. It's not just the teacher benefiting the student, but in the process of teaching also, the student not the student, the process. Even the student, of course, is part of the process, right? Contribute to the teacher's own progress. Okay, you see. In this case, but he expounded in detail to other Dhamma as they have been heard, as they have been pointed out, as they have been mastered. In the manner that he expounded the Dhamma as they have been heard, as they have been pointed out, as has been mastered, in that very manner. This is your yata yata tata tata, ru shi ru shi. I have given the full translation, but in the Sanskrit it just say pruvavat, as before, as before. Because in number 1, I have given in detail the whole, detailed description given. So the Sanskrit abbreviates, so, but I give all the details here. It's not my addition, it's in the previous paragraphs. In the manner that he expounded the Dhamma as they have been heard, as they have been pointed out, as they have been mastered, in that very manner, with regard to those dharmas, the Pali has singular, but here the Sanskrit has plural. But these are small differences. So, tasmin dhamme. You see? He teshu dharmeshu. Just small differences. He comes directly and truly discern. This is my translation for Pradesangvit. In respect to dharma meaning. So I give you the Sanskrit here. You see? Teshu dharmeshu artha parisangvedi bhavati dharma parisangvedi cha. And in the Chinese you have yu bi fa yao neng zheng liao zhi ruo fa ruo yi yi bei fa yu leng jing liu ji jing liu ji 關於法也好，關於義也好，若法若義嘅意思係咁嘅。In him directly and truly discerning in respect of dharmas and teachings, you see, joyousness arises. The process now also is sparked up by your teaching something that you have gained through and direct insight into, in the manner that you have heard and so on. For him, experiencing mental rupture, the whole thing is repeated. The body becomes serene. Being serene in body, he experiences happiness. And for him, experiencing happiness, the thought becomes equipoised. Very, very literal translation. Samadhi-āyatana. Actually, in the Pali, it stops here. It's not very rational, not very logical, because the process of starting from, pramodya to priti and so on, and then prasapti and then samadhi, and then it goes on up to yata buddha jnana darshana, and then finally up to nirvana. Usually we see that kind of process, you see. But I don't know for whatever reason it is, the Pali stops in samadhi. I was wondering about that when I was reading it last time, but here I see the whole process described in full in the Sanskrit as well as in the Chinese. The Chinese translation, of course, in other contexts. Let me remind you about this context. This is in the book called Vyākya. Vyākya is the only Sanskrit commentary on the Abhidharmakosha Bhashya. Okay? And at first I was wondering whether it was the author's, that is Yashomitra's own understanding. But I checked through the Yogacara Bhumi. I've told you that this also explains, like for instance, the meditation, the nilaka and so on. You see the so-called samadhi nimitta, the sign of meditation, and Vyākya gives actual examples like what I've told you, and these actual examples also are exactly given in the Yogacara Bhumi. Not in the later stage, but in the earlier stage of the Yogacara Bhumi. Okay, so with his thought equipoised, he understands and sees truly. Understanding and seeing truly, he becomes spiritually disgusted. I had to add the word spiritually, otherwise becoming disgusted can be interpreted in a very negative way. Being disgusted, he becomes detached. Being detached, he is emancipated. He comes to emancipation. This is the third, Vimukty-āyatana, abiding wherein the bhikshu or bhikshuni in who the in must be cut off, whose not yet abiding mindfulness comes to abide, non-equipoised thought becomes equipoised. His undestroyed outflows come to be destroyed, and he comes to acquire the supreme spiritual security, nirvana. We have seen that. I show you the Chinese text. Except that the Chinese text I show you is from Abhidhamma text, one of the earliest canonic Abhidhamma texts. Okay, this one I'm reading is from the Sanskrit, but you can see amazingly it's just like word for word identical. So it means that there must be a common tradition that they are sharing. But especially, since it's also found in the Pali Sutta, as so it adds to the evidence of it being very ancient. Okay, so I think also again it was not a very short sharing. I think we have to end here. And just to summarize very quickly, what I've shared with you is actually what is taught in the Pali Suttas, and we find that it is not only in Pali Sutta but in also the Chinese Agama text, and also Abhidharma text, and also Sanskrit commentary, Abhidharma commentary. These are all ancient sources, Indian sources. The Chinese have not arbitrarily, artificially, Xuanzang disciples did not put in their own arbitrary explanations, and they must have learned from Xuanzang. Xuanzang must have a basis, and we find indeed there is. This is a doctrine of the 5 types of basis for liberations. Provided you learn the Dhamma properly, listen Dhamma itself. How important it is. Don't do it casually, you see. And as I said, not only in just learning the Dhamma, even doing other things like puja and meditation, you cannot rush into it. You cannot say I am doing more important things than others. I'm more, I have to spend time and then I rush into it. You cannot do it like that. And you must prepare your mind. This is for your own good. You must prepare your mind, your mentality. You have to be always in a humble, receptive, faithful, grateful, meditative. Then you can benefit. Otherwise, forever, okay, you can contribute in terms of activities. But forever, you are just a modernized man or woman. You see, not really touched by the Dharma. So, this manner, this art of what I emphasize today as the art of listening. The important one of the important qualities or requisites of creative education must be borne in mind. So this is number 1. Number 2 is that reciting the Dhamma, of course, premised on first learning it first, receptively and creatively. Reciting itself can be a very important means, important basis for liberation. Third, not only that, teaching others, premised upon your own sincere and humble, receptive learning, also is liberative. And fourthly, even reflections, contemplation, investigations, you see, even by yourself, that is also equally liberative. And finally, meditation. If you properly grasp spiritually conducive sign of meditation, meditate on it, that is also so that it caters for intellectual studies. It caters for the type who want to preach, who want to learn, and those who want to recite or fun reciting, and those who want to meditate or those who want to contemplate. So you can see that different types of character types are catered for. are taken into considerations, and there are different ways depending on our different temperament, our capacities, that can transform us.